Hello and welcome to my channel. It's the Network Specialist. Please like this video, subscribe to my channel, and hit that notification bell so that you know each and every time I upload a video. Everything I will discuss in this video is alleged and in my very own opinion, used for entertainment purposes only. Today I will be doing a recap of The Real Housewives of Atlanta, Season 16, Episode 6, Peace Interrupted. Okay, guys, and let's go ahead and get started. So, this episode starts off just how we would want it to. It started off with Britt Edie talking about everything she's went through in the first 48 hours after Kenya tried to humiliate her at her event, and that was very disheartening. Her mom actually came over to show her some support because obviously she received all types of calls, emails from family, friends, work associates, all of the above. And obviously, every time she clicked on the internet, her name was all over the internet. So I can't imagine what that would feel like, but however, that's what she experienced. And the thing about it is, Britt said that she scrubbed the internet of her provocative photos. Okay. So once she became a professional individual, she scrubbed the internet of those photos. So whoever located those photos, they had to do a lot of digging to come up with those photos. Hey, Cece, thank you so much for being here. And she also admitted that she was underage when she let her boyfriend film her giving him oral sex. Okay, so she was definitely a minor in that photo that Kenya posted, which is never going to sit right with anybody. Um, and the thing about it is, Kenya wants to portray like she's such a good mother. It's Brooklyn, 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 everything Brooklyn. And I do think Kenya is a good mother, but what if somebody did that to Brooklyn? Sometimes you just have to put yourself in the other person's position before you choose to do these type of things that could potentially ruin somebody's reputation for the rest of their lives. And then on top of that, you know, you was Miss America, so you're supposed to be held to a higher standard. That's one of the reasons, if I'm not mistaken, why Vanessa Williams lost her crown because they, were able to go back in her past and find those type of photos. So why would you want to do that to the next woman? And Cece said, can she verify that she was a minor? I can see Brit. Okay. That's a good point, Cece. That is a good point that, maybe that's a lie, her saying that she was a minor. But the way this internet is set up, it would be easy for that to be proven, whether it's true or not. So I don't think, in my opinion, that Britt would come out and say that unless, it was true. But you are absolutely right. Britt could be lying about the fact that she was a minor. And honestly, I don't think Britt, I mean, maybe Britt had told the friends, but when I heard that she was a minor, I didn't hear it from Brett. As a matter of fact, I think it was when Portia went under Kenya's post and called Kenya a liar and told and because Kenya told Portia to stop using her situation for clout. And that's when Portia said that Britt was a minor when, that picture was taken. But you are absolutely right. It has not been confirmed whether or not Britt was a minor when she made that photo. And you clarified me just like how Kenya clarified with Portia is Miss USA, not Miss America. Remember, Kenya got mad at Portia for calling her Miss America. You are absolutely right. I don't keep up with Kenya like that. I know she won a crown, and whether it was USA or Miss America, that's a great accomplishment. So shout out to her. But yes, um, I just know she won a crown. Um, so wouldn't you know it, Kelly was the first person to come to Britt's house to show her some love and cheer her up and bring food. And I told y'all I got a good feeling about Kelly, right? So, immediately after the situation happened, Kelly did come over to cheer Britt up and show her some love. And that was really sweet. Her husband was there as well. So all three of them, had a bite to eat, had some wine, and just lightened up the mood for Britt. And Kelly also invited an IV specialist to come over and give them IV fluids and the minerals that they needed. I've never had that done, and I've said before on my live that I would like to experience that and do a little bit more research to find out exactly what that's all about. And Cece said, I just remember Kenya making such a big deal about Portia saying it. It was overblown. Yes, she did make a big deal out of it. That's how I was able to remember the situation because I remember Kenya doing that as well. So Shamia invites, some of the peach holders. Not everybody was, not everybody was there. Portia was there. Drew was there. Angela with her, let me stop, was there. Her and her fan. She's always hot. She's going through the change. And, no disrespect to anybody else who's going through that thing, but I'm really starting not to like Angela. Okay. I'm during that age frame as well. Um, so these ladies came over to discuss Kenya's event. And yeah, they did discuss, you know, Kenya's event. And all of the ladies were in agreement that Kenya went way too far. And I did notice that Angela had the least amount to say, in this little gathering. Like she was very quiet. She, spoke up here and there, but I did notice that she was really quiet during, this little meetup with the ladies. Okay. And then the conversation went over to Portia talking about the fact that Pilar asked her, where was Simon? And she told her that he was at work. Now, however you decide to deal with your kids when a divorce is going on, she's not going to be the first parent to lie to her child. But ultimately, you're going to have to come back and tell your child what really happened. So I think if I was put in that situation, I would just let my child know that, hey, you know things aren't working out between me and your stepfather, so we have decided to part ways. That doesn't mean that he doesn't love you or we don't love you the same. When it comes to adults, things just don't work out sometimes. Hey, Cynthia, Christian, thank you so much for being here. So she told Pilar that Simon was at work, and we've all been you know made the decision to tell a little white lie when it comes to our kids to protect their heart. I get it. And so she also mentioned that she sent a message to Simon letting him know that Pilar was missing him, and she said that he didn't respond. And she got very emotional speaking on the situation. And it was really sad to know that Simon didn't respond. He could have just said something like, oh, tell Pilar I miss her as well, and just left it at that. But what you're seeing from Simon I have to play devil's advocate here. Um, what you're saying from Simon, you have to look at this from both perspectives. Because although it's always sad, when a kid has to go through a divorce with the parents, but um, think about what Simon's kids has also had to go through during this divorce. Like, this is not a one-sided story. While Portia focuses on the materialistic things, you know, there's another side to this story. His kids were also misplaced from the home that they had known over the last couple of years, whatever the case may be. And especially knowing that Simon's world was turned upside down after only being married to Portia for 15 months. Hey, Sharon Gottwald, thank you so much for being here. So you have to look at things also from Simon's perspective. Imagine spending all that money, which is now wasted money. They had two different wedding ceremonies. They had a Nigerian ceremony as well as an American ceremony. So they had the two weddings in November, and Portia filed November of 2022, and Portia filed for divorce in February of 2024. So I can completely understand that there's a lot of hurt and pain on both sides, and Portia is known to be very selfish, and I'm pretty much neutral on the whole situation, but there's always three sides to a story. There's his side, her side, and then the truth is going to lie somewhere in the middle. So Simon lost a lot, in this situation as well. Like 15 months, you're supposed to still be in the honeymoon stage of a marriage. So for everything to quickly turn in a matter of 15 months after a house was purchased, cars was purchased, they took lots of trips, they had two weddings. That was a lot of money down the drain. And if you're not spending your money, sometimes you just don't get the value of money when you're always spending somebody else's hard-earned money. So that's all I'm saying. She wants to portray like, oh, she's so hurt. Simon was hurt too, you know. So, and Portia knew exactly what she was getting into, just like we all heard the rumors of what Fallon went through with Simon. She heard them too. So she doesn't get a pass, just because you realize what everybody else already knew and you refuse to accept. So you don't get a pass, and we're just going to overlook everything that Simon is going through. And I want to say he has at least 4 or 5 kids. So his family is suffering as well. And he had to move out of the marital home. Yes, it was in the prenup, but even the fact that he put that in the prenup, or you guys agreed on that to be in the prenup, says a lot about Simon. Like, if it didn't work out, like he wasn't trying to leave you homeless, you know what I'm saying? So I have to, just call that out, because Portia is good at, wanting sympathy, but she doesn't take accountability for her actions, in this whole mess. So back to Angela. Guys, y'all know I have been saying for a while now that there's something about Angela that does not sit right with me. Okay. And for whatever reason, she low key has a problem with Britt Edie as well. So I'm really waiting to find out exactly what that is because nothing has been brought to the surface so far. So I'm trying to figure out what is her problem with Britt Edie. We've, been able to figure out what the problem could potentially be between Britt Edie and Ming Lee, but what is Angela's problem with Britt Edie? Okay, got it. Okay. Now, when it comes to Drew and Ralph, I do have sympathy with Drew when it comes to the court orders, about who's supposed to cover what, and if he's supposed to cover the pest control or whatever the case may be, that's all fine and good. But the problem that I had with that whole scene is the fact that it's Father's Day weekend. During that scene, you know, obviously it's probably not Father's Day, but it's Father's Day time. So maybe Ralph just came up because he wanted to be acknowledged for Father's Day before Drew left. In my mind, that's what I would have been thinking. But no, Drew had to go in. Oh, I need to talk to you, and act like she was so surprised that he came upstairs in a home that he lives in. I know that he's supposed to be in the basement, but it's his time. And again, maybe he just came to be recognized by his ex and his kid's mother for Father's Day. Okay, I don't see anything wrong with that. And maybe Drew didn't think about that, but that's the first thing that came to my mind is that maybe he wanted her to acknowledge that it was Father's Day. And timing is everything. So I felt like being that it was Father's Day, she could have waited, you know, until another time to discuss the fact that he didn't pay for the pest control or whatever the case may be. And Cece said Angela knew Britt was lying about her license. Maybe she doesn't trust her. Now, keep in mind, I felt this even before, they had the peace brunch. It's just something about even she told Kenya that she was on her side at the event. But I get what you're saying. I also have a license and I am fully aware, and I know Brit is too, that you have to do an investigation before you lose your insurance license. I have one too. So I totally get where Angela was coming from, and we're gonna get to that. And Cynthia said, I do not care for Angela. And Cece said, I think Ralph wanted to be on camera. See, you just calling everything out today, and I love it. CC be on top of everything. You right. We know he want a peach. We know him and Dennis both want a peach. So you're right. He wanted to be on camera, and that probably annoyed Drew. I get it. Hey, Paula, thank you so much for being here. Okay. Now, where was I? Okay, so we were talking about Ralph coming up, when Drew was getting ready to leave because she have to leave. I think it's on the first, fourth, fifth, or whatever the case may be, weekend out of the month so that he can have access to the entire house. And guys, please don't quote me on that. Okay. I can't remember every last goddamn detail. So I might be wrong about the dates or whatever, but however, she has to leave so that he can have full access to the house. Okay. So that was my thinking because they did mention that it was Father's Day, that he wanted to be recognized. Cece said that he wanted to be on camera, and knowing Ralph, that was a part of it too. So I get it. Now, back to Portia. I do feel like Portia has grown as a person from the person that she used to be. Okay. But I really wish that she would get out of that selfish mindset and just really reciprocate the love and support that she is given from her friends and family. Like, she just doesn't give the same thing, in return, in my opinion. Now, when it comes to Britt, Edie, and her saying that her family has been reaching out to her. Her sisters have let her know that, they got her back. They're going to be there to support her. And guys, you never know what situation, what tragedy is going to bring you closer together with your family. Sometimes it's a tragedy. So I'm happy that Britt has the support of her mom and her sisters. Okay. And one thing about real family, they know when to put their differences aside to be there for each other. Okay. Now, let's get to the peace party. I think it was a nice gesture for my girl Kelly to host the peace brunch. And Cece said, if I was Drew, I would have the house swept for video and audio devices after Ralph has his upstairs time. Also, what does he do for a living? Drew wouldn't even say straight up when they came on. I wanted to say that he was very like avoiding the question about what he does, but somewhere along those conversations, I thought they said that he did something in the tech industry, possibly. I'm not sure. He obviously makes money because he said that she doesn't pay any of the bills. So he has to be making some money to be able to afford all of the household expenses. And on top of that, have to be down in the basement. So back to the brunch. Like I said, that was a nice gesture of that Kelly did to bring all of the ladies together for a peace brunch. Now I'm gonna say this. I feel like Angela came with the wrong energy. Okay, in my opinion, this brunch was put together for Kelly in honor of Kelly. Okay, so it should have been all about Kelly, and I feel like even if Angela thought she was lying, you know what I'm saying? Like that was not the time to call her out. Or maybe she should have just let somebody else do it because it's been obvious that they've had a little tension or whatever the case may be. So you should have been just as quiet at this brunch as you were when you were at Shamia's house. You didn't have a lot to say then. But as soon as Britt gets there, the person who's been hurt over the last 48 hours, you got so much to say. Like, I really wasn't feeling Angela's energy at all. Okay. And that's just my opinion. Again, maybe Britt didn't word everything correctly, but the fact that her license is even in jeopardy over something that she didn't do, I would be pissed too. And I probably would, just assume that my license might be, revoked or whatever the case may be. So I don't think it was Angela's place to call that out. And Cynthia said, yes, Angela came in wrong. And she knows that Britt and Kelly are really good friends. So the fact that Kelly invited you to her home in honor of Britt, like there's just a level of respect that you have to have. Like you already know this woman just went through a very, I'm going to call it a tragedy, okay? A tragic situation because for Kenya to do what she did in front of the whole world, basically, that's a tragic situation. I'm sorry. Like, everybody would not be able to get past a situation like that. Some people who have a weak mind would have took that type of situation and unalive themselves. Okay. Everybody doesn't have a strong mental health. So you can't play with people like that. So I feel like Angela should have sat there and ate her food, okay? Just like she was doing at Shamia's house. But she was waiting to attack Britt. I think she only came to attack Britt for whatever reason. And it's been said that somebody that's still on this show gave Kenya those receipts. And I'm definitely looking at Angela sideways. I don't trust her. You know, you say she might not trust Britt, but I don't trust Angela. And Cynthia says that she agrees. It's just something about Angela. And I just feel like she's trying to come in and be the new Kenya. Now that Kenya is gone, she thinks she finna take Kenya's spot. Okay. And what's so funny is Angela kind of looks like an older version of Kenya. Okay. When I was creating that thumbnail, I was like, wow, she looks like she could be an older version of Kenya. So, maybe she's trying to take on Kenya's persona. I'm not really sure. Maybe she's trying to take on Kenya's nasty attitude, but I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling it at all. And to be quite honest, she really needs to tone it down because I don't think she fits in this group. Like, I just don't think Angela fits in this group. And if it wasn't for her husband, I would really need her to go. And Sharon said, Angela, in my opinion, looks sneaky. She does. Oh my gosh. It's just something about her. Like I said, Charles is funny, but, you know, she can go. Like, for whatever reason, I just don't think that she fits in. And that's just my opinion. You guys let me know what you think, but I'm still not feeling Angela. And Cece said Angela would have fit back in the day with the OGs, I think. Exactly. I think that's what it is, Cece. Now that the majority of the OGs are gone and they have replaced them, you know, with some younger girls, she not fitting in because Shamia is young at heart. Portia is young and young at heart. Kelly's young. Britt is young. You know what I'm saying? So, and now that Nini's no longer there, Candy's no longer there, which Candy is still young, and Kenya is not there. Oh, I forgot about Cynthia. So her and Cynthia are the only two, women in this group that are kind of seasoned and mature. Now, I said the same thing about Cynthia. She's kind of outgrowing the show. But the thing about Cynthia, she knows her place. Like, she's not coming in hot because she knows she's an OG. She's older than these ladies. So she's giving the mature approach and getting along with everybody. But at the same time, calling these youngins out on their BS. So I like what Cynthia brings to the table. Angela, not so much. Okay. In my opinion. So, yeah, I'm just waiting to see, I don't know if you guys have heard anything about, Portia saying who that person was that's still on the show that was the one who sent Kenya those receipts. And she also said that there was somebody on the show who has went to the execs several times to try to get Kenya off the show. So if you've heard anything about that, and if you have any tea on that, please let me know in the comments or even, you know, after the video is over because I'm getting ready to end this live. But yes, I'm waiting to see if Angela played a part in Kenya going to hell at her event. Absolutely, because she looks like she has something to hide. And Sharon says, I agree. Cynthia knows her place. She's not trying to rise to the top. Yes. And be seen. And just, Angela is really doing too much, in my opinion. She is really doing too much. And she called, and let me just say this before I go. She wanted to call Britt out and said that, well, actually, it was Drew that said that Britt needs to take some accountability as well, which she did. She said it to all of the girls that she was sorry. She came to the event. She brought her flowers and a card. Kenya just chose not to accept her apology. So that's for Drew. Now, when it comes to Angela, she needs to take some accountability too, because it was her question on the card that set off that whole entire argument between Kenya and Britt, if we're going to talk about accountability. Okay. And Cynthia said, yes, Angela is doing too much. Yes, so I just wanted to add that in. She wanted some beef between Kenya and Britt after they had their initial, little brief altercation when Kenya was asking Britt about the ring. She seen that there was some beef there, and maybe Angela knows something that we don't know. Okay, she probably already knows that there was beef between Britt and Kenya and Ming Lee. So, because otherwise, why would she tell Kenya at her event, I'm on your side? It's like she knows something that we don't know. I'm just saying. Okay. So, guys, that's going to be it for my recap of The Real Housewives of Atlanta, season 16, episode 6. Peace interrupted. And guys, if you have not done so already, please like this video. And if you happen to be catching the replay, please like the video and subscribe to the channel and drop down in the comments so that we can keep this conversation going. And remember, everything is alleged and in my very own opinion, used for entertainment purposes only. And Cece said, great recap. Have a blessed day. You do the same, Cece. And I hope you had a wonderful birthday weekend. And maybe on the next live, you can tell us if you did any special activities for your birthday. And guys, thanks again for watching and bye for now.